The Attorney General announced recently that Rick Snyder, the former governor of the state of Michigan, the person who installed the emergency managers in Flint and oversaw the water switch and the failure to add the chemicals that would stop the water from the Flint River from causing lead to leach out of the pipes, is going to be charged with 2 misdemeanors for neglect, willful neglect of duty. I see you laughing already about that.
And believe me, it's not laughing, funny, ha. It's just like, this has got to be a joke.
Yeah, so let's start there. Your reaction to those charges.
It was funny because you hear that criminal charges are coming and you're very excited about that because that's one of the things we've been waiting for and hoping for. And you think, okay, justice is coming as far as, wanting to hold someone and more than just one person, but hold people, but the governor as well, criminally responsible for what happened. And so you get happy, you get hopeful, and then the next day you hear just what you talked about, willful neglect, a misdemeanor, up to a year. So we know that means no time or $1,000. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a bad joke. And, one of the things I've always said is this is a slap in the face to the residents of the city of Flint. It really is.
Give me a sense of what you think he could have been charged with or should have been charged with or is guilty of. What is it about the interaction that you had with him, which was a lot of interaction while this was happening, it was trying to be fixed. What was it that he was doing that in your mind rose to the level of criminality?
Well, actually, the death of so many people in the city of Flint, and he played a big hand in that. He had the biggest hand in contributing to that. And that's what, it's like, okay, we had people die. I thought, and I know many of the residents of this city thought that he would get slapped with, manslaughter. That's what we were looking for. That's what we expected. And it's interesting that you see others charged with manslaughter that reported to him and that were under him, but he doesn't get manslaughter. And how does that not happen? Because so many people died at his hand and by decisions he made and by information that he did not share with this public.
When you were working with him, I can remember on trying to fix all of this and trying to get him to be more vigilant about fixing it. I can remember you telling me that you were frustrated about the pace of things. You were frustrated about the kind of attention he was paying. You felt during that time that not just the decision to switch the water, but the decisions that were made after about trying to help the people of Flint.
And really, those were not, he ended up being responsible, helping to make those things happen, but he didn't make those decisions. That's one of the things I was letting people know is the things we were able to make happen. He didn't just volunteer and say, hey, let's get some money for new pipes. Hey, let's open up these water stations. Hey, let's do these things. We had to fight for those things. And that was what I spent a lot of my time doing when we were in meetings, was fighting for what I know we deserved. So it was frustrating and it was difficult, but I wanted to continue to try and get anything and everything that I knew Flint needed, and not only needed, that we did deserve as a result of what happened. So yeah, it was frustrating, and it's still frustrating when you see what is going on with these charges as far as Snyder goes, or lack thereof. I just don't know how that happens. And then for him to come to Flint and try to get it dismissed. He tried to get it dismissed and, saying he was in was it Shiawassee County when this happened? Well, the crime happened in Flint. So they're saying we're putting it in the wrong venue. No, this is where it took place and you need to come here. This happened in Genesee County and he wants it either moved or dismissed. And I thought, once again, here we go, trying to dismiss what happened, trying to dismiss the severity of what happened, the tragedy of what happened, and make it in a place where he can be more comfortable. It's always about him. And we can't let that happen. I certainly hope that nothing like that happens. But I thought, wow, how much nerve is that?
So catch us up on where we are in Flint with the repair to the massive damage that was done.
That's a really good question, and you don't hear much about it. One of the things we know is the lead service line replacement has not been completed, and why? That's a very good question.
That was supposed to be done by the end of last year, is that right?
And exactly, and we were ahead of schedule, so that has not happened. One of the other things we had always talked about was keeping the water pods open until that process was not only completed, but until we had consistent test results that we, the residents, were comfortable with, and that the people we had looking out for us as far as public health, medical, scientific community saying, okay, we're satisfied. And so, that's something that hasn't happened. Really hearing what's going on with Flint in that area has been removed, because we used to have something that was in place that was a committee, an interagency committee that the governor put in place to have meetings about this. And while the meetings weren't open to the public to come in, they were live streamed so people could hear us fussing and fighting and trying to figure things out and holding people accountable. And so, all of that has been stripped. We've asked for, and this was a conversation you and I had when I was coming on before, as far as addressing the in-home plumbing and fixtures and appliances. If I have new pipes in the front of my house and my water tests good, but my in-home plumbing and appliances and fixtures are damaged, I still don't have access to clean water. So there's a lot that's going on that we're not hearing about anymore, that has just, stopped. And that's not fair to the residents. And not only is it not fair to the residents, one of the things I've always said is pay attention to Flint, because, there are so many other places that have water issues and that have aging, damaged infrastructure. And so people were learning from Flint as well. And so a lot of that has gone by the wayside because you're not hearing about it. But we also know that Flint wasn't about just water and infrastructure. It was really just the symptom of racism and the systematic racism that's been put into place. So those are some of the things. There's going to be something tomorrow with the Judge Levy as far as the settlement that's going on. And that's something else that we're saying is just not fair. It's not just, based on the crime that took place here. So, they slap us in the face with this settlement, and it should be more. It should be much more, and the distribution should be different. They slap us in the face while, the charges other people got, they seem to fit what happened. But then you look at the person that was, leading the charge, getting a slap on the wrist. So that's what's going on in Flint. And I'm going to be watching how this plays out with these charges. Snyder needs to be charged and not charged with a misdemeanor. And we want to see not only charges, we want convictions. We want it to be a different ending this time. We want convictions.
So listening to you talk about those things quite passionately reminds me that you have a new platform to talk passionately.
Yes.
You are going to be a radio host.
I started yesterday. And it's funny because people they really want to hear what's going on in Flint, and they want to hear the up close and personal story about what was going on and all of that, because there's a lot that took place that people don't know, or and it's an opportunity to have those kinds of conversations. So I'm really looking forward to that. I really am, on 9:10 a.m.
Yeah. Okay, Karen.
8 o'clock. 8 to 9. 8 to 9. So we'll be talking about Flint and having some good conversation about that.
Yeah. Okay, Karen Weaver, former mayor of the city of Flint. It's always great to see you and to talk with you. Thank you so much for joining us on American Life.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.